Okay, hello everyone and welcome to today's session, our second interview forming part of our webinar series, How Not to Drive Your Business to Zero, but actually set yourself up to thrive in the aftermath. We all now host Daniel Watson, Director at Vertec IT Services, and our guest today is Daniel Silva, Director at DSL Logistics. Before I hand over, again, just a few important notes. A recorded version of this webinar will be available on our social media. Should you have any questions, please post them at the end. Please post them in the chat and we'll go through it at the end. And yes, you can get a list of our upcoming interviews and the dates on our LinkedIn and Facebook page, as well as our registration page. Okay, over to you, Daniel.
Excellent. Cheers, Bianca. Okay, so Daniel, thank you for agreeing to come and do this informal chat session. I acknowledge that for a lot of businesses, this is either looking like the biggest sledgehammer to hit them in the head in the last 20 years, or potentially an extinction level event, and that at this time, really pays to give it a bit of thought to what you do next, because it will either set you up to grab the best out of the opportunities that are coming up, or potentially snow you under. So I've got a few questions for you, because I want to take advantage of your knowledge and experience. I mean, you've been in the logistics industry for how long?
40 years.
40 years. All right, I was going to say 20 and make you younger. But yeah, I mean, which is it's a mess, because not many businesses last that long, and through the time that I've known you guys, it's been incredible, the growth when you look back. So you clearly are doing some things right, or possibly a lot of things right, and perhaps some of us can learn from that. So what's the biggest mistake that you're seeing business owners making at this point in time?
The one that gives me the biggest cause for concern are the ones who are giving up.
Giving up?
Yeah, giving up now. I don't blame them. I've seen a bit of that going around. They have a look, and they have a look at what's happening. They found that their revenue was reduced to zero overnight. Even though there is some support for wages available and there are some loans available, they start thinking, hey, why do I have to do that? I'll just cash up and go. And I've seen more of that than I'd like to have seen. And I think it's a big mistake. Because life does go on, and this crisis will come to an end. And if what you're doing is useful, there'll be a call for it. And if you think that you can rely on your savings for your old age, think again. We've been there before. In the early 70s, we had the oil crisis. And basically, most countries went into spending huge amounts of money, which is precisely what we're doing now. So this 50 billion here and 50 billion there have to be paid somehow. And usually the way in which they're paid is with rampant inflation and no growth. So that's what you're looking for. So if you think that you can rely on your nest egg, you may find that with very high inflation, it disappears in no time at all. So if you've got a choice of continuing with the business and plowing on, that would be a much saner option in my view for people to take.
Yeah, because a business, even if it's reduced, is still more valuable than a business that's closed, right?
Absolutely. And if you close it, yeah, you've got your reserves, you've got your cotton wool around you, but don't overestimate how long that will last you.
Yeah. I mean, one of the mistakes I made when I was earlier on in business is that I actually had no conception of how much help there was available. Like, it's not only the unemployed that can get welfare. There are things out there. I don't know if you've ever taken advantage of any schemes in the past. Have you? Like, I know of a TEED that's been tremendous.
Well, not really to the extent I could have, and that's in itself a mistake. But I think, if I think about it as an individualist, you learn from your mistakes, and I've probably made plenty of those myself.
Yeah,
from which I've learned a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
But of course, easier ways to learn from other people's mistakes, and if that help is available out there, then by all means, go and get it.
Yeah, I mean, I've found even networking groups are useful just for getting multiple perspectives on what people are happening, because even though your businesses might be quite different, a lot of the business challenges are very similar, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, like if you do plow on, you know, what are the kind of things that you need to consider, right? If you're looking at a serious challenge.
Well, look, just to give you an example, not long ago we were having a bit of a networking meeting, drinks in a pub somewhere, and there was a young lady there who is about to do a PhD in something important. Obviously, the brain the size of a planet, very, very bright, and she wants to go into business. And there's a bunch of old guys like me around, and so she very wisely asked all of them, "What's your advice?" And when it came to my turn, I gave her the most unexpected advice she ever got. But I think it's important. My advice was pay your taxes. All is pay tax. Because A, you sleep well, and B, if you don't pay it, they can break you overnight.
Oh yes, yeah. And also it's a good business health thing. If you are actually paying taxes, you're profitable.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you shouldn't. I actually do like those periods where I'm like, hey, look, I'm paying taxes. Like, okay, we're on the right track. I mean,
better than the alternative.
I guess at some point you get big enough and you try and do an Amazon, you know, but that's different levels of problems, right? Yeah. So I mean, actually, that's an interesting thing. Is like when we first started looking after you, you guys were in Parnell, and the size of the office that you were in there is like, you know, that would fit in the one corner of one of your warehouses now, all right? So what are some of the challenge, like, you know, like stepwise growth challenges over time? What are the kind of big break points have you had? Have you got any examples of things where you just kind of kept going and you thrust through that?
Yeah, all of it was, all the growth was organic. We never bought any business. We just went from one client referral to another one. And the biggest challenge was picking up with it and not lose your head in the process. Because in 1 year, you get a new client, you make heaps of money and you can make mistakes, not provide for it. So being cautious, leaving money in the business, not just second trying as fast as you can. Sometimes I regret I didn't suck more out of it, but right now it's come in handy to have some reserves. And basically we just went from one to the next. We made some mistakes along the way. For example, picking up business that we're not suited for or we had no skills in. And we soon found that out. So stick to your knitting and keep on growing and keep on managing that growth. And it's difficult to manage the growth.
Yeah. I mean, it's we're staying in your lane. I know that every time I've tried to take on a client which is not quite, what they're asking for is not quite what we do. And you end up at odds with them over small things, and it just grates. It's like throwing some sand in your sheets, and you just never quite sleep right about it. So yeah, that's really valuable. So if a business right now is kind of struggling, and you know, should they, you know, like say the lockdown persists past 4, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or we having some kind of tail off where your business is going to be impacted, but less over time. You know, what would you say to people who are looking at taking on additional debt?
It's a difficult one. If you're going to be in business, you have to keep on meeting your obligations. So you have to keep on paying your suppliers. You may not pay as fast as you normally do, and that's understood. I've got lots of suppliers, and some of them are coming back saying, I can't pay you, and that's okay. Pay something, keep them going. And if you find that you can't pay, then consider going into that for two things. One is that by doing that, it shows me that you still intend to be in business. B, if you don't do it, if you just let it go and don't pay your debts to your suppliers, don't be too surprised if they're not there when business does pick up. So that's what I'm telling people. And of course, we're doing the same thing ourselves in reverse. We're going to our landlord and do a very generous, give us a deferral subject to this and subject to that and subject to whatever.
Yeah.
And we're passing that to our clients in turn, on the same terms. But all that does is prove that we are committed to staying in business because we think it's a viable business. And I understand sometimes not all businesses are going to be viable. Some of them have changed forever. Some of them will change for the next decade. If you're a tour operator taking Chinese tourists around the fjords, you might want to think of doing something else for the next few years. If you're an airline pilot, you might want to use your skills in some other area. And those are just the reality. The world is not going to get back very quickly to what we had before, regardless of how long the current lockdown lasts. But in our case, we move goods around. It's basically imported goods coming to the country, and we send them out to the shops and to customers direct. So trade is not going to disappear, but it'll be vastly reduced.
What do you think about if people think who might, I don't know, like if you're sitting at home right now because you've been made redundant, or you're working from home, or you've been reduced down to 0.8 full time, you know, there's a lot of videos of people making big money in recent history, maybe not right now, but perhaps they are, on doing like those online trading, importing goods, selling them online. Do you deal with any clients who are kind of grown out of that model, or what do you think of it?
Basically, we just concentrate on imports. We don't deal with exports at all. So we don't have much experience there. On the import side, we mainly deal with companies that, larger companies. Good on them if they're doing that. I mean, people don't just roll over and die. They will try their best. It's usual normal pitfalls, but then again, there is no shortage of advice out there how to get around those. But if people can, use their newly found spare time to do a bit of activity on the side and make that more central to their income generation, then good luck to them. Go for it.
Very good. Is there any you must have dealt with people who started off an importing business and started getting trucking, and then they run into roadblocks, right? What are the kind of common things that people encounter in that respect?
It's the thing to note about importing. It's no different from any other commerce. You find some goods that you can buy for a good price, that you can sell for a better price. The fact that you're doing it in different countries these days is not a big deal. The biggest problems you have is when things hit the wall. That if I have a dispute with you, Daniel, we'll take it to the disputes tribunal or the court, and there's some people sitting there who are impartial and who are going to make a decision and rule, and there's an enforcement motive. And I'll try to do that in Korea.
Right.
It's not so easy. So people find that, but normally it's actually quite straightforward. You find the product, you find the market, put the two together. The bit in the middle, there's a bit of paperwork, but there's heaps of people out there that specialize in providing those services, which we do as well. So it's no big deal. It's not, importing is not an activity as such. It's just commerce. That's all it is.
Right. Yeah. So if you can, find people who can help you remove the knowledge barriers, it's just a case of, finding that product and finding the market for it and stitching it together.
Yeah.
Very good.
I mean, there used to be a few decades ago a special thing called being an importer, as a profession. And that was because we had import licensing. And very few people had the licenses to actually involve themselves in it. There is no such thing as a professional importer anymore. Anybody can import. No licenses are required. They're just traders. They're buying and selling. The bit in the middle, there's plenty of people like myself.
Is there any trading that still requires a license?
No.
Or is it so literally anybody can bring in nearly anything?
Yeah, just the normal laws about you can't bring in explosives.
Oh well, that's the kind of stuff I'd be interested in.
Heroin and whatever. all the good stuff is controlled.
Oh, right. Okay, the monopolies have already got those.
Yep.
Okay, that still leaves open a fair chunk, I guess. Super. Now, you mentioned before that the bit of a changing landscape of what kind of goods and services are out there, and what are going to be, you know, essential services and what are not? How do you find your way through that?
With great difficulty. What's happened was that government here took an approach which, in my view, doesn't make sense. Now, this is not a criticism of the government as such. They're having a very, very difficult job. And I think that Jacinda has aged physically in the past 2 weeks. Now, I would not like to be in her shoes right now, or the shoes of the people who are making these decisions, and their life and death decisions, and they can't be perfect. But one of the big mistakes they have is to try to define what's essential, what's not essential.
Yeah.
I've been telling people there that it's that old song from the 40s, damn bones. You know, the leg bone is connected to the hip bone is connected to, everything is connected.
Yeah.
So once they start making these decisions, then you let value judgments come in. For example, you decide that selling Chardonnay is essential, but selling RTDs is not.
Right.
Or now they make decisions, like just in the past 2 days, the day before yesterday, they made decisions relaxing what can be deemed to be essential. And you'd be pleased to know that not only running shoes are now essential, so underpants and sex toys. So all of a sudden, that opened up. So I'm actually reopening my business on Tuesday to cater for those essential supplies, as long as they are made via the web, direct to consumer.
Yeah, yeah. My running shoes are wearing out, and I was thinking, damn, I got to get another pair.
Now you can go online and order them to your heart's content, and we're shipping them out. So the problem that we have here is that you're substituting value judgments for what it is. The issue is that you are doing contactless delivery and you're keeping the stores closed. That's the health issue. The content of what's in the parcel shouldn't be either here or there. So the whole system of what's essential and non-essential is collapsing under its own weight.
Yeah.
And I fully expect it to disappear. Even before this came along, you'd be amazed at the loopholes that people were finding to define their goods as essentials so as to keep sales going. Now, they don't even have to be very creative. They just say it is. And off we go.
Well, perhaps we're moving more towards, I'm not so sure, but the Swedish model where they haven't fully closed down. But I mean, when I looked at the stats yesterday, and with the number of people who recovered from the active cases was larger than the new confirmed tested cases, I was like, okay, right, we're on a good trajectory there. And then I was like, how many people are actually in hospital? And it was 13 or something. It was quite a low number. And the number of people in ICU who were seriously sick was 3 or something. I was like, oh, okay, we're well on top of this.
What you need to have a look at is the number of people who are not in hospital and should be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those are the people who will die if they don't get to hospital. But
no, I'm not talking about the COVID people. I'm talking people with heart attacks. I'm talking about the people with angina.
Or the other normal day-to-day issues that are happening.
So what's going to happen? So look, they're not easy decisions. I'm not saying that I'm the guru and if I was there, I'll be perfect. No way. People make mistakes. And the Swedish one may yet be a mistake. We'll find out. And let 1,000 flowers bloom. They're trying their experiment. Let's see how they get on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, let's discuss what is a rational way of going about it. And also reduction in economic activity is inherent and essential if we want to reduce contagion. And then the necessary one can be worse than the cure.
Yeah.
So we should be able to continue to debate that and to make sure that we find the right model to do it with.
Yeah. I think it's very important for people to stay positive, because if there's always a way through it. It just may not be immediately apparent. But the key thing is just keep taking actions, right? Because if something doesn't work, we'll try the next thing. And when that doesn't work, try the next thing. When that doesn't work, try the next thing. As long as you're still pushing, you will hit upon something that works or works slightly. But something working slightly is better than nothing at all. You're right. I wouldn't want to be in the government's position, because anything they do whoever it is on any side of the political fence, they'll either be accused of not having done enough or overreacting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like you see the pictures of American presidents and that kind of stuff. The younger ones go in with dark hair and they come out snowy white. Yeah, I mean, it's a good look for some of us.
Including Obama.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right, very good. Now, Bianca, do you have any questions for us that have come in?
Yes. I have here affiliate marketing, so third-party selling for Amazon, for instance. How does the current situation impact those businesses and the long-term effects?
Probably not a lot. Their goods come in from overseas anyway, so they're not restricted by the essential, non-essential palaver, because that doesn't apply to goods that are shipped from overseas to here, direct to consumer, which is another loophole. So some of our clients have got their own web fulfillment stores here in New Zealand. Those have closed down, so they started supplying from Australia to here.
Right, I see.
It does make sense. So that continues. But in the case, I don't know how the Amazon system works. If they are shipping them to an intermediate party, and the intermediate party is then reshipping them, then the issue has come up again. And basically, they have to follow the same rules as everybody else to make sure that the delivery is made contactless and that their goods have some semblance to essentiality.
Okay.
Right. A fairly loose and a wide loophole then. Yeah. Okay. Wunderbar. All right. So I think that pretty much wraps us up. If there was any other questions from the floor, no?
No.
No? All right. Going once, going twice. All right, very good. Hey, Daniel, thank you very much. I don't think one other thing that I know about you that most people probably don't is that you're a champion table tennis player. Is that right? Did you represent New Zealand at the Masters Games?
Yes, but in the Masters Games at the senior level, you don't have to represent a city or a country. You pay $200 and you're in. So it's very easy.
All right, awesome, great stuff. How well did you do on that one, that tournament?
We don't talk about that.
Okay then. All right, we'll moving swiftly along. All right, okay, guys. Thank you very much. We're doing another webinar. What's the date of that, Bianca?
On Tuesday.
Tuesday, and who is that with?
Sarah Watson,
Sarah Watson?
psychologist. Yes.
Don't you mean Dr. Sarah Watson?
Sorry. Of course. Didn't you not hear me correctly?
Oh, well, she'll make us suffer later. All right, excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, I hope you have a great day, guys. Cheers. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.